The CEOs from Merck, Intel, and Under Armour are among those who resigned from President Trump's Manufacturing Council following Trump's lack of condemnation of the alt-right movement in Charlottesville, Virginia. Still, many executives from America's most powerful corporations remain on the council.
Yeah, it's been quite a few days. San Diego State University business ethics lecturer Dan Eaton joining us on the KOGO News Live line. And Dan, what is more important, honestly, from a business perspective, working with the president on economic issues or being seen distancing yourself from controversy?
Well, the answer, LaDona, is that it really depends on the particular company, particularly the demographics of the particular company. These people are making very individual calculations based not only what their stakeholders, their customers, shareholders, and employees would have them do, but also what the dictates of their conscience would have them do. And that's going to be a very individual decision. The right decision for one CEO may not be the right one for another. And you can bet that these CEOs are making the decision about whether to remain or leave in consultation with the boards of directors to whom they answer.
Do we know how many people are on this council?
Yeah, I think I saw a number of somewhere around 20 or something like that. And understand, Ted, that we're not talking about just one council. There are at least three that I saw in news report, including the Economic Council, from which the CEO of Uber, Travis Kalanick, or at least he was CEO then, stepped away. And then you have the Strategic Council, from which Mr. Iger of Walt Disney stepped away over the Paris Climate Accord. And now you have this one, which is the American Manufacturing Council, and that's the one that's getting all of the current attention, and that's the one from which Kenneth Frazier of Merck and Mr. Plank of Under Armour have stepped away.
Now, as business leaders, if you remain on an economic council like this, should you try to influence the president while you're there, not just on perhaps economic issues, but maybe say, hey, can I offer you some guidance?
Well, Don, I think you raise an important point, because the whole point of being on these councils is to have the ear of the president, obviously with respect to those issues that matter most to these business leaders, namely those that are at the center of their business, but also to the broader issues. Look, the fact is that there's a broad expectation that corporations will take a public stand on issues, but there are different ways to express that. One way is to issue statements. The other way is to take on a president by leaving a council that you've agreed on, which you've agreed to serve. There is no one right answer here, but there is a broad expectation among consumers, employees, and all of the other stakeholders that corporate leaders now will take a stand on major social issues.
Now, when these gentlemen, when they resigned, the president was quick to go on Twitter condemning them and basically saying that they were grandstanding. Should you put CEOs on blast when they don't want to work with you?
You're talking about the president, right?
The president, yes.
Whether the president ought to do it. Well, I mean, that's really a political question, Ted, isn't it? But you raise an important point in that one of the issues, one of the variables that CEOs have to consider about whether to serve or leave is whether they face the risk of rebuke by the president in a very public way. This is a man who is not shy about expressing his displeasure on social media, and that has to factor in because it can affect how his followers will react to these particular companies. And you're a new way of PepsiCo learned that the hard way when she had a brief boycott of her products after she made comments that were perceived as critical of Donald Trump. This is all in the age of social media, a new dynamic that didn't exist many decades ago when corporate leaders indeed were speaking out on public issues but didn't have the back and forth that's present now.
All right, San Diego State University business ethics lecturer Dan Eaton on the KOGO News Live line. Thank you for your insight.